He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is the Alex Marlow Show.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Marlow Show. Thank you for joining me today. We are cobbling together, I would say duct taping together, a quick show for you. I am wrapping up one of the biggest projects of my life, which I will actually be announcing any day now. That's coming up. And so I will, I have a long work day today, but I did get Eric Trump in. We just taped with him from a little shoebox studio I was in working on a different project. So you'll see that. It's going to look weird, but it's going to sound great. I asked him about the new Trump phone that they've got going and whether or not it's going to be made in America. So you can wait for that answer, as well as a take on 10 years since Trump came down the escalator, which was 10 years yesterday. So we got that. So that unbelievable. We should make it a monument. Like, why not make it some sort of a monument? Amazing, significant event. But there's enough going on in the news where I did want to give you my take on a couple of things, particularly because a lot of conservative media is very emotional, and there's a lot of emotional blackmail going on with regards to what's going on with Iran. And I want to give you a perspective as I try to listen to all sides. In fact, I do. I listen to all sides, and I try to form a opinion without fear of what the audience will think, and just give you my honest assessment of it. And I think I have that authority, being one of the first people to join the American First movement. I would say one of the original people who had a hand in shaping it, as we were the first major news outlet at Breitbart under my leadership as editor-in-chief of Breitbart to get behind Trump and understand the America First agenda. And there's a couple of things that I feel like are not being honestly discussed with regards to the prospect of some sort of engagement with Iran. So here's the basic premise. So Israel obviously has a problem with Iran because Iran funds proxies of terror, and those terror proxies have done things like carry out various attacks, terror attacks, October 7th attack, all that. So Israel's got a lot of reason to not trust Iran. And they certainly feel as though, I think Iran is very vulnerable right now because their people do not support the Iranian regime at the moment. So that gives them a lot of opportunity in their eyes. This is even different from, I think honestly Hamas has more support in the Gaza region, from what I'm able to glean, than the Iranian regime has in Iran. So I think the Iranian people are probably do not have a strong stomach for dealing with an onslaught of an attack. And there is a political element, which is that Netanyahu's polls are not super strong, and he's got a lot of unity behind him for war. So it's just a reality. This is just how the world works, is that the countries tend to unite when a war happens. Maybe not here in the United States these days, but that is something that's real. So Israel's gone in. They're making a proactive attack. I got a lot of inside detail from people who are in the know. Let's put it this way. These are some of the top sources in the U.S. government. And they were blown away by the initial attack by Israel, saying it was historic level. The level of precision was something that was perhaps even beyond what we could have pulled off as Americans. I think Israel's intelligence is certainly pound for pound better than ours, and maybe better overall. I mean, our intelligence community is a disgrace in a lot of ways. So I think we're rebuilding it. I think we got the right people in place to do it. But they were able to pull off something very strategic, very devastating. And Trump fired off this tweet, or this truth bomb, right before I started recording today. He said, "We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA." I mean, the suggestion that, America and Israel are basically in charge of Iran's skies right now is just, it's mind-blowing stuff, and it's totally unprecedented, totally new. And it does make it so that a lot of people, particularly in Israel, are thinking, well, why don't we try to finish this thing off? And so I'm not saying that's where you should be. I'm not even saying that's where I am. I'm just saying that that's certainly going to be something that is people are going to consider that when you look at the nature of the vulnerability for a regime that is not operating in good faith. in any way, because they continue to fund those proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Iraqi militias, terror cells all over the world, in the nuclear enrichment, which we have to point out. There is no reason for Iran to pursue nukes at the enrichment level they're pursuing it unless they want nuclear weaponry. It's not just about nuclear energy, tons of oil, tons of fossil fuels. And the reason why they want nuclear is not just for the energy. I'm not saying they couldn't use it for a little bit, but I mentioned this last time. But I'm not saying there are some things they could use it for, but overall, they're clearly pursuing it at a level where they get nukes. So here are the key points that I want to make. The first point I want to make is that Donald Trump is in an impossible position because he has made a commitment, and he's been saying this for over a decade, that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. He has said that flat out. He's also said that Iran cannot fund these terror proxies. Iran continues to do both of those things. So Trump is now in a spot where he either has to prove that his word is worthless, doesn't mean anything, doesn't keep promises, or he is to bring this thing to a conclusion in some way. Now, does that mean he should bomb Iran? I'm not saying that. I am saying don't take stuff off the table. And I think it's very irresponsible to take stuff off the table and then announce it publicly, which it seems like a lot of people on the isolationist right would like for Trump to do, is to not only take stuff off the table, but then to make a public declaration. That's the implication. That's what we're witnessing, is that people online are clamoring for Trump to make some sort of a public statement. We will not, under any circumstances, do anything to Iran, even though we've demanded two things from them and they are not doing them. So, not to mention, if you're someone who's on the left side of the aisle, the IAEA, which is basically the UN, has suggested that Iran is violating rules, commitments, etc. there as well. So no one's really happy with Iran right now. So does Trump do anything? Well, yes, he's going to have to. But what does that look like? I would like it to be a brokered peace. I would like it so that Iran agrees to some sort of a deal that involves them shutting down their nuclear enrichment and stop funding these terror proxies. But for some reason, they're refusing to do that, even though it's going to lead to devastating attacks. So considering Israel's precision, their intelligence, clearly they've infiltrated very high levels of the Iranian regime and military, considering that the military leaders are continuing to get wiped out. They're just going to keep getting pummeled, I would say, for another week or two at this rate, unless they cry uncle and say, okay, we're ready to come to the table, broker some sort of a peace. So I do not think Trump wants to bomb anyone. I don't necessarily recommend that we bomb anyone. I am saying you cannot take stuff off the table, and Trump is now in this spot where he is being asked to break his word that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons because they continue to pursue that level of enrichment. So is Trump expected to do nothing? And that's the question that you should be asking, and perhaps some of your favorite conservative influencers now. And it is, I'm not a boots on the ground guy. I'm not. I can't think of a circumstance where I would be a boots on the ground guy in this instance. But for some reason, there is an emotional plea that's being made online in conservative media that Iran is the same as Iraq or Afghanistan. And that means that we would see boots on the ground. We would see American troops, blood and treasure being spent for years at a time, not some sort of a war that would be fought with ballistic missiles, drone warfare, stuff that would be relatively remote, would probably be quick, and that sort of thing. That's the debate. I'm not saying you have to be on the side of we do anything proactively. I'm not on that side. I'm saying what I don't like is the implication that if Trump drops one bomb, that's the same as we're now going to Iraq for 15 years for a WMD that we can't find. So it's not the same. So let's try to have an intellectually honest debate. And I don't want to have an emotional debate, because what's happened, and this is a crucial point, another one of the crucial points I want to make. What I'm witnessing now is I'm witnessing people on the right who are emotionally invested in being proven right. There's cognitive dissonance going on. If you are someone who is a patriotic American and rooting for Americans, and Trump goes against what you want him to do, and you now have to root for America to win. So let me try to phrase this a couple different ways so that people don't miss the point here. If you're someone who has been deeply committed to isolationism, No other wars ever. And then Trump decides, you know what? It looks like we're going to drop a bomb. And there's one reason I'm looking at this Fordo region. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. But it's apparently this facility that is very powerful for Iran's nuclear program. And it's deep underground, and Israel might not be able to get to it. So this would be the sort of thing where Israel would want America to join in. And I'm not saying America should or shouldn't. I'm saying, though, if we do, is that the same as the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war? Is that the sort of thing where you should throw out Trump's entire presidency? This is the whole thing that we're seeing online. We're seeing people say that if you think that America should help Israel finish the job with a bomb or two, then that makes you a neocon. It makes you not America first. It makes you someone who wants perpetual warfare all the time, everywhere. So that's not true. And it's very irritating when that's what's being implied, is that America can't do anything without all of us being demonized and being acting like we're no different than the people who got us into the Iraq war. No, we stole the party. We didn't steal it, but we legitimately took it. But we destroyed that wing of the Republican Party. That was the America First side, is holding those exact people accountable. But that's not Donald Trump, and that's not the circumstances here. It's not we're going to go in and have a war so Halliburton can make money and we can enrich defense contractors. We're talking about dropping a bomb or two on a very vulnerable target who will not do what President Trump says. All they got to do is stop enrichment and stop funding terror proxies, and we're all good. We don't have anything to debate anymore. We're done. We're done talking. And if they won't do that, why won't they do that? And they're daring us to do something. So I think I'm optimistic that Israel can handle it all themselves. And if not, then Iran will eventually come to their senses and understand that their best path forward is some sort of a brokered peace that involves them winding down their nuclear program and not funding these terror proxies. But Trump's dead set on that stuff. And he's the man for the moment, no doubt about it. And I'm very confident that he will be the guy who gets through this. He will be the one who will navigate us. And I trust no one more than President Trump. I honestly think he looks at this from a very nuanced perspective. I don't think he wants any new wars. I don't think he wants his base to be disappointed in him. But I also think he understands his word needs to matter, and he cannot take any action off the table. So this is really important, and this is why I find that I'm reading all these, tweets with millions and millions of views on them, declaring that Trump's base will be fractured, and you're all neocons if you want anything done in Iran. That is not what we're talking about. We are not talking about boots on the ground. We're not talking about 10, 15, 20 years. We're talking about whether or not Trump's word matters. And if you're not able to go there with me, then we're debating like the left debates, where it just becomes about emotional pleas and it does not become about what are the facts of the ground and what are the things that best serve America's interest. You can make a case that what best serves America's interest is to do literally nothing. I understand that. I would like to hear that argument. That I am seeing that argument. That is happening a lot. But the idea that you violated some sort of a code, some sort of a MAGA code, that if you do anything, a lot of the people who were saying this stuff were not with President Trump in 2016. They didn't see the full vision. Trump has been remarkably consistent, and he said Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. He's been saying this his whole life before he was even in politics. So if Iran continues to pursue it, then I'm not even saying they're going to get it soon. That's another one. I can hear some of the objections already being formulated. Well, they might not get it. We've been promised that they're going to get nukes. They never get them. Okay, that's fine. But Trump's word means something, and they will not stop enriching. So that's the point that I think is missing, and I don't like the emotional nature of the debate. I would like to think that we on the right could hash this out without it being some sort of a tribalism thing. And it makes me nervous when people are so committed to no war that if there is any sort of a war, even for a day or a week or a month, that those same people will be invested in America losing so they could be proven right. And don't try to guess who I'm thinking of here, because it might not be the most obvious names or people you're familiar with. But I do think there are a lot of people out there who are so deeply committed to Trump not doing anything with Iran that should he do something, then they will actually work to divide his base and will not will not trust him to get the job done and to leave swiftly with results. So that's the flag I'm putting down in the sand. It's complicated stuff, and we got to work through it. It's going to take time to work through all of it. But I have a lot of faith in President Trump that he will simultaneously take care of the bad guys and not unnecessarily interject Americans into harm's way. And I think that's important. So it's a couple other points to note. Trump left the G7 summit allegedly to deal with this stuff, which was in Canada. I've been to a G7. It's kind of stupid. Not a lot gets done. A lot of photo ops. I don't think you can read that much into this. I think that the Trump leaving the G7 in Alberta, Canada, might just be because he didn't want to be there. Are there any Trump golf courses, Misty, in Alberta? I don't think so, right? I mean, like, where was he staying? He doesn't like staying at other people's places. He likes being in his own properties. I don't think he want to be in Canada that much. So I honestly don't think we could read that much into it. He might have seen the Iran-Israel escalation as an off-ramp. You know that pain, stiffness, and declining mobility aren't just a part of getting older, right? If you took the bone and joint health risk assessment that I've been talking about for the last few weeks, and you realize it's time for action, here's the solution that you've been waiting for. The Juvent Micro Impact Platform uses patented technology, sends gentle, targeted signals to your bones and your joints. It's safe, it's non-invasive, and proven to support stronger bones. I've been saying this. This is pure MAGA right here, because you don't rely on doctors, you don't rely on pharmaceuticals. This is stuff you could do with this simple but proven technology. It will get your bones healthier, it will get them stronger, it will create better movement, and you don't need drugs or surgery. You don't have to settle for temporary fixes. You can try Juvent for 6 weeks, risk-free. And if you don't like it, you don't see a difference, you get your money back. Plus, with a limited time, you can save $300 with code Marlow at checkout. You go to juvent.com/Marlow. That's JUVENT.com/Marlow. JUVENT.com/Marlow. MARLOW. Don't add the E. It doesn't work. If you add the E, you don't get the $300 off. You deserve a future with less pain, more freedom. Make it happen today with Juvent. So Israel, by the way, is going to try to get America into this war, and I don't think that's a good reason to go in. So there's a more nuance for you. I don't think we go in because Israel wants us to. Israel's great allies, but that's not a good reason to go into a war on their behalf. So there you go. So, but there is somewhere beyond, there is somewhere where we can have a intelligent debate, and it can be a debate, not just an emotional thing. The IDF general said the war will not end until missile and nuclear threats are destroyed. So Israel right now is going after ballistic missiles. They're having a lot of success right now. So we have a lot of detail on this for you at Breitbart. I'm keeping you up to date on it. So, and then Netanyahu surging in the polls, Israel uniting behind him, which is, you can read this two ways. And I'm not here to sugarcoat. I mean, he was not doing well in the polls and now he's doing better. So it is certainly politically a good move for Netanyahu to have war. That's a reality. And I don't judge that positively or negatively. That's neither a good nor a bad thing. It is just what it is. So if that makes you skeptical of America joining in, fine, that's fine. Let's have that out. Let's have that be the discussion, that this is, if you believe that Netanyahu is only doing what he's doing, not because Iran is a threat, but because it helps him in the polls, totally understand that point. And that's a point that it deserves to be explored. So, but I trust Trump to deal with it. I do. I trust Trump to make that assessment on his own. All right, let's move forward, talk about some other items that are out there. Washington Post reporting that Trump has reversed ICE exemptions for farms, hotels, and meat packers. I guess they had it first, but everyone has this. So it doesn't have to be Washington Post. But this is a huge win, and I complained about it on the show. You guys know that I'm still sort of in the honeymoon phase with Trump. I really think after the lawfare and after getting shot in the head and winning with the historic comeback that he did and by the margins that he did, I'm still really trying to reserve any criticism for him unless he really deserves it. But I will say that him trying to carve out exemptions for deportations for farms and hotels and meat packers, I understand it because those industries are going to be totally decimated with deportations, but I really don't care. We have to get everyone out at this point. After the No Kings protest, I mean, if that was a dare to deport everyone and we have to take it on, Trump won a democratic election, or, America-style democracy, every swing state, popular vote, dominance in the Electoral College 7 months ago. And we're being told he's a king by the left. And while they wave the Mexican flag in an area that was conquered originally by Spain in California and spread across the country. I have no interest in playing nice with these people or appeasing these people. No violence, of course, but deport them all. And talk about a blackmail, the suggestion that our economy cannot function without illegal aliens. It is just simply not true. It's we can and we must. We must. Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, was saying there are entire sectors of the economy in Los Angeles that depend on immigrant labor. We're not talking about immigrants, we're talking about illegal alien labor. The administration is waging a war against our own economy. Well, maybe you shouldn't have built an economy on illegal alien labor. Deeply immoral, encourages human smuggling, human trafficking, the cartels, the fentanyl, the crime. All of this is born of the fact that we have this economic blackmail that we cannot function without illegal alien labor. No, we can function and we will function. So we've got to get rid of all the deportations we can. We need the mass deportations. We need a huge reset in terms of the way America does business. We cannot allow for lawlessness because of the economy of Los Angeles, because we're going to lose some gardeners. Doesn't work, and it's not persuasive. I hope people see this as not persuasive, that she's compared the ICE raids to COVID lockdowns. Joel Pollack has written this because it's keeping people at home because they're afraid to go out. Well, they're afraid to go out because they're here illegally. And why do we act like actions don't have consequences and laws do not need to be followed if enough people make money off of them, including the cartels? Trump is by 12 points now of voters support him using the National Guard to quell the LA riots. So all the stuff that happened over the weekend with the No Kings and the violence, it's not working. I pointed out recently, I think it was last week, how legal immigrants are moving quickly to Republicans. It's the demographic that's shifting quickest towards Trump and towards his movement. We don't like this stuff. A singer named Neza sang the national anthem in Spanish in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Dodger game. She told them that she would not do that. Then she said she was proud of herself for lying to the Dodgers to sing in Spanish. My kids are learning Spanish. I want my kids multilingual. I think it's a better way to live. I think it's good for the brain. I think it's good for the soul, all that stuff. But you can't lie to sports teams for our national pastime, the American national pastime, that you're going to speak a foreign language and then sing our national anthem in a foreign language. It's not okay. And if you think that's going to convince people, I don't think it is. So that's why I kind of like it. I like watching this stuff because it will, if you support this, it reveals that you're not reachable, I don't think, politically and culturally and emotionally. And I think a lot of people who are reachable for our side, people who we could court, who we could bring to our side, I think they got to see this and they got to think, oh, that's not a good look. It's not a good look. So Trump is now enjoying majority support from Black and Hispanic voters. That's a huge development if that's true. Rasmussen surveying, John Nolte's written this for us at Breitbart, survey that ended last week, 1,700 likely voters. Trump is 53% job approval rating, 54% from Blacks and 53% from Hispanic voters. Unbelievable if that's true. Rasmussen is kind of leaning conservative these days, so we're going to have to see if this bears out with other polls, but wow. So, and Trump is willing to listen to the base, by the way, on the ICE stuff. I criticize him for the farms and the hotels. Now he's back on board. Great stuff. It's your typical Black voter, your wages are going up with deportations. Typical legal immigrant voter, your wages are going up with deportations. We will work this out. And a lot of you will get more money because of it. Let's do it now. We got the political imperative. Get the deportations going. I'll tell you how concerned the left is. The NAACP is not going to invite Trump to its convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is next month. It is breaking a tradition of 116 years, the first time the NAACP has excluded a sitting president. Recall, this is a president who is surging with Black voters, who got a much higher percentage of the Black vote his third election than his first two, and is a figure who's figured prominently in Black culture. There's no president ever who's been rapped about as much as Trump. And I think someone calculated he'd been like 100 different mainstream rap songs. It is, why wouldn't you want to hear from Trump? Because the NAACP is not about blacks. It is about being on the left. And it is, Trump is a threat to the left because Trump is picking off key parts of the left's coalition. Amazing. All right, a few other things to bring up. Senate version of the big, beautiful bill removes regulation and suppressors, short-barreled rifles. So it's so much good stuff in that bill. We will return to it when we have more time, but it's, of course, imperfect, but so much good stuff in that big, beautiful bill. I continue to ride for the BBB thus far. More good stuff will keep, it's just going to get better, too. The FBI giving Congress intel, this according to John Solomon, Just the News, on alleged Chinese plot to create fake mail-in ballots in 2020. So election interference by the Chinese. So we have some details on that at Breitbart as well, but good scoop. Kash Patel has tweeted that, so I imagine that's legit. But a effort to fake mail-in ballots. You would never guess who China wanted to win. Could you guys guess who they wanted to win in 2020? Apparently it was Joe Biden. That's stunning. Bernie Sanders, socialist, endorsing a actual communist who's running for mayor in New York City, a guy named Zohran Mamdani. You got to keep an eye on this because if, I guess maybe he's seen as a socialist, not a communist, but this guy could be around. It could be like an AOC situation where if Zohran Mamdani becomes the mayor of New York City and you get a socialist mayor, the content is going to be unbelievable. I got to say, I root for New York. I like New York. And when we lived in D.C., that was our getaway for Mrs. Dr. Marlow and I. I have a lot of family who lives in New York and Connecticut. I used to like theater before I became so political. We were a theater family growing up, so we did a lot of vacation was going to see Broadway shows. And I root for New York. I do. Best place to eat in the world, probably, right? So but I got to say, I would love to see it. I would love to see the content, how it would go with a socialist mayor. It would be such a disaster, and it would be so, I think, instructive. Okay, last one I'll bring up. Food giant Kraft Heinz announcing a plan to end artificial dyes by the end of 2027. This is just really interesting and cool because I will tell you, as a father of 4 children under 7 years old, at least half of those children are mostly use mealtime as just a way to get ketchup. Like that is the goal, is to get ketchup. It is not about consuming anything other than the sweetness and the sugar of the ketchup. And I still like ketchup. I don't get the people who can't put ketchup on a hot dog. And I think I had a pretty good palate. I had a cheeseburger last night. I put some ketchup on it. It was great. Like I love ketchup. But that said, it really is a lot of sugar. It's got dyes in it in a lot of cases, and it is not good for people. And we have an obesity epidemic. Kids get hooked on it. And I will tell you that when my kids get served something, there's always an effort to try to get as much ketchup on it as possible, at least 2 of the kids. And that's not good because there's bad stuff in it. And this is a big Maha victory. So anytime you see a food giant like that trying to get a little healthier, you can thank President Trump. You can thank Robert Kennedy Jr. and the Maha movement, all those Maha moms out there, one of the most powerful political movements out there. Good stuff. All right. That's it for today for now. Eric Trump is next. Thanks to Misty. Thanks to all of you for telling 10,000 friends and family members about the show and all the hard work we do at Breitbart. If you checked out our special event last night in the Fight Club with Marsha Blackburn, it was amazing. So you can catch the next one. We're working on the next ones, but our founders roundtables, we've been calling them, been so cool. There's so many great moments in there. We'll highlight some of those for you at Breitbart, but be a Fight Club member and you can get all that. All right. That's today's show for now, save for this Eric Trump interview, which is great. He's great. And we'll do that right now. You've heard me talk about efforts from the legacy media to stop you from accessing shows like mine. They do it by limiting spectrum that's available to consumers like you to access shows like this. They actually claim it's a national defense issue, which is a bit of a stretch if you think about it. And Trump isn't buying it either, and neither is Senator Ted Cruz. In the big, beautiful bill, Republicans have heard your voice and are providing more spectrum. So what does that mean for you? It can reduce your monthly broadband bill and preserve your ability to watch, listen, and stream the content that you choose, not what's chosen for you by some cable provider. The sale of this spectrum will also generate billions of dollars to reduce our national debt. Don't let the giant cable providers and legacy media continue to filter your information. Tell your senator and member of Congress to work with Senator Ted Cruz and President Donald J. Trump to expand Spectrum and end the legacy media monopoly for good. You can learn more at endthecableopoly.org. That's endthecableopoly.org. All right, the one and only Eric Trump is here, and it's great to talk to you, Eric. We actually haven't interviewed you before. I think you're the last Trump I haven't interviewed. I haven't gotten to Barron. I got to get to Barron next, but it's an amazing occasion. I was just going through some documents, and I was reminded that it was June 16th, exactly 10 years ago, that your father came down the escalator and change the world. I mean, I guess I want to start with, should we make it a monument? Should we make it what should we do with those escalators? I mean, it feels like a significant thing.
It's hard to believe it's been 10 years. There's no question about it. I mean, he came down that escalator, and I think he changed modern political history. Actually, the story started maybe 3-4 days before that escalator when he looks at us and he goes, kids, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run for president. We're going to quickly learn who our true friends are, and we're going to get hit in ways that you can't even comprehend. And I say it a lot, but they put us through hell, Alex. You know this better than anybody. I think Breitbart reported on it better than anybody, from the fake dossiers to the Russia hoaxes to the impeachments to the Supreme Court justices, the weaponization of AG's offices and DA's offices, the weaponization of the DOJ, the weaponization of the FBI, raiding our homes, removing my father from the ballots of Colorado and Maine based on radical justices who wanted to kind of subvert the will of the American people. The 116 plus subpoenas that I personally got, arguably the most in history to any one person, because they couldn't get to my father through the executive branch. So they made my life hell. I could go over and over and over on the attacks, and then they tried to kill him, and they tried to kill him, more than twice. Butler, and yet the guy keeps standing.
Sure.
And here you are, and you look back at this whole voyage. You look back at the way we all grew through this whole process. I mean, I couldn't have told you what a delegate was before this political process, and here we are today. And so, Alex, we're proud of him. We love him. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years. Sometimes it feels like 100 years. Sometimes it feels like 10 minutes. I can't quite figure out the spectrum of time. But the guy's a remarkable human being who's done such an unbelievable job for this country and really has reshaped the modern political system in our country.
Can you speak about your family briefly? Because seeing all the rhetoric over the weekend, they're calling him Hitler again. I mean, it's like they really do want him killed. It's very clear they want him killed. And it just is very striking to me that they can't come off of that, because it doesn't help them politically. Of course, it's deeply immoral, but they're still doing it.
I mean, it's insane. It's insane. You had an FBI director who wrote 8647 on a beach in Seychelles. Yeah. Magically the currents, the tides just form those shells there, right? And sure. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? And they talk about how, my father espouses violence. Here was what I can tell you. I was at that parade, and it was the most beautiful thing that you'd ever seen. We're celebrating the 250th birthday of the United States Army. The crowd was amazing. They were singing, national anthem. They're saying the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance and everything else. And you're seeing these tanks, and you're seeing these men and women in uniform. You're celebrating people who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country over the last 250 years, who's won every single conflict and kept our nation safe and strong and the superpower of the world. And then you kind of, revert over to the West Coast, and you see them burning cars and destroying police vehicles. Listen, California has enough problems. The last thing it needs to do is lose all its cop cars based on the fact that morons want to throw, rocks through all the windows and destroy these cars. Those police vehicles were absolutely destroyed. And then they're marching around the cars or lighting them on fire. They're holding flags from different nationalities, and then they say that while your FBI director is writing 8647 in Seychelles on a beach, and then they talk about how we're espousing violence. I mean, the last time I remember, I had a 5-year-old daughter named Carolina and a 7-year-old son named Luke sitting on my lap as somebody tried to blow my father's head off. Thank God he missed. And then they talk about how Trump is Hitler and espousing violence. Isn't that irony? I mean, you had an entire party that tried to lock him up every single day for a 10-year period of time. You had an entire party that tried to throw his kids in jail for doing absolutely nothing wrong and otherwise being great model citizens relative to Hunter Biden, who's a total scumbag. And yet isn't it irony that they label us as Hitler? It's Alex, you can't make it up.
No, you can't.
What I'll say is my father's fighting for this country. He loves this nation. We love this nation. Anybody says that there's any person in modern political history, presidential history, who's sacrificed more, short of who's sacrificed more than my father, professionally, personally, from a wealth standpoint. No one could have stood up to those attacks. No one. And he kept on fighting because he loves this nation, and I'm incredibly proud of him.
Well, so how are you guys celebrating? You guys have a big announcement today from Trump Tower, and you've announced a new product, a new phone. I want to hear all about it. Tell us what we need to know.
Yeah. Well, today we launched Trump Mobile, really exciting for us. I mean, first we launched Truth because we were getting deplatformed and censored, and so we needed a way to fight back. And then we launched World Liberty Financial, which is kind of our major crypto venture. I think everybody's heard of it. It's probably the number one growing crypto project in the world, because we got canceled by every single bank and we got deplatformed by every bank, and every single one of our accounts was closed because they didn't like Republicans. They didn't like somebody who wore this big, beautiful hat that said "Make America Great Again."
It's a great hat.
And then,
best presidential merch ever.
No question. And then fast forward today. By the way, I did the Trump 2828 hat, and people lost their minds. It was like the greatest troll effort of all time. It was so much fun.
I got to tell you, this is where I lost $1 billion, because I had that idea many years ago. I need to do the Trump 2028 stuff,
Alex,
and it was so stupid. I didn't.
We did like 100,000 hats in like 3 hours. I mean, it was crazy, right? And then, sure enough, fast forward obviously to today, where we launched Trump Mobile, and it's, why can't we make mobile devices in the United States? Why can't we have customer service in the United States? Why are we farming that out to Bangladesh? Why are we farming it out to all these places? How about St. Louis, Missouri, where our customer call center is if you need something? How about making a product in America for Americans, by Americans? And we're really excited to be doing this. So this is a big part of the puzzle. We again have the cryptocurrency aspect of kind of fighting back against the big banks. We have the Truth, the Truth Social, which is fighting back against kind of violations of freedom of speech. And then today we have kind of a device that can bring it all together, which is obviously Trump Mobile, and we're super excited to do it. $47 a month. You can get an eSIM card. Go on TrumpMobile.com, get an eSIM card, and I think it's going to be amazing. We're really passionate about it, and it's going to be fantastic.
So yeah, I'm really glad you brought the debanking also, by the way, because I mean the crypto, because I was thinking about when the sleeper story of the year is Melania saying in her book that she and Barron got debanked. Like, that's so beyond crazy in the first world that's happening to this family. And so
there's no one that dealt with that weaponization. Yeah. There's no one that's dealt with that weaponization more than me. I mean, I dealt with every bank. Obviously, I run a company that's $10 billion, right? Massive company, global influence, and banks that we had for 30 years dropped us like dogs for doing absolutely nothing wrong. And they're representatives of those banks, and many of them have testified and other things, and right, because we went after many of them, we had to hold them accountable. But you've never done anything wrong, Eric. You have the best employees. You've got the best company.
Right.
And I'm so sorry. I don't know what they're doing, other than the fact that obviously they're revolting against your father because they don't like his politics. And
it's the only way.
I heard that over and over.
It's very clear that he's been great to deal with as far as the banks go. But TrumpMobile.com, you brought up something that was really interesting to me. So where are the phones made? Because tough to make this stuff in America. Can you guys pull it off?
It's going to be pulled off. Give us 6 months and it's going to be pulled off. Right here in America right now. Obviously, if you have an iPhone, if you have an Android, you can a mobile eSIM. If you have an older phone, you can use a hard SIM. So that's very easy. But our overall aspiration is to make phones in America by Americans for Americans, especially in the days of cybersecurity. God knows what's coming over on devices from overseas. We want our call centers to be in America. We want all our customer service to be in America. We believe in it. We want to bring business back to our country. We want to bring manufacturing back to our country, and we're happy to lead the way. As much as horrible papers like the New York Times will say, "Oh, ha, it can't be done." No, it can be done. It can absolutely be done. We're putting the best rockets into space. We're producing the greatest vehicles in the world. You better believe it can be done. And if there's anybody who's going to lead the way, it's going to be the Trump. So, very honored to do it. TrumpMobile.com, $47 a month, and I think we're going to revolutionize the mobile world.
Okay, so $47 a month. The plan is to make the phones here, but you can get started with your old phone, if I'm to understand this correctly. So, what carriers?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So which carriers can people use, and how do they make a switch if they want to?
All of them, and we do it with whoever's best service in your respective area. So we can be very agnostic in that way. And all you do is TrumpMobile.com, sign up for an eSIM card. You plug that into your phone, and you're up and running. And so it's very easy. It's very efficient. And again, $47 a month, right? I mean, look at your cell phone bills. All these carriers have a little hidden language in their contracts where every year it escalates by stupid amounts. And 5 years later, you look at your plan and say, I can't believe I'm here. We're free text, unlimited data, free calling to over 100 countries around the world. And again, we're really excited about the product.
So your team told me there's a lot of special offers and special perks that you should fill us in on.
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, first of all, telehealth is becoming a very, very big thing, and that's something we really want to embrace. On the phone, obviously using third-party providers and great kind of medical services. I mean, how often do you need a Z-Pack but you don't go because you're crushed at work, you're writing an article, you're doing whatever it is, and you kind of fight through it versus have to spend 3 hours going to a doctor's office. And when you have a mobile device that can connect you, to doctors all across the country that are amazing. And so that's one service that's obviously our partners are kind of rolling out on this platform. And then there are many others, free roadside assistance, for instance. You're driving, right? So there's so many obvious ones that haven't been rolled out on iPhones, that haven't been rolled out on Androids. And we're going to embrace all of them, and we're going to give people as much functionality and security and cost savings as humanly possible. Again, we're doing it in America for Americans with customer service in this country, and we're excited to bring it home.
Eric, this is the last one. It's a tough one, but I want to hear your answer because people are going to get asked this stuff. People will say that this is just you guys taking advantage of your dad's office and your family name to try to make money, and this is there's something improper about that. What's your retort to that?
If anybody thinks that the Trump family has made money because of a political office, they're sadly mistaken. I've never sold finger paintings, for $500,000 a piece to Chinese nationals or whoever the hell he was selling finger paintings to. I never sat on, natural gas, boards in Ukraine and countries that I didn't speak the language of, in industries that I knew nothing about. The Bidens got into office. They got into business when their father got into office, right? We got out of business when our father got into office. And when you look at the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars we've spent in legal fees, protecting ourselves from these rogue attacks, when you look at my father, who's never taken a dime of salary while being in there, when you look at our company who donates every penny back to the U.S. Treasury of any foreigner, any foreign government official who stays in one of our hotels, even though we're under no legal obligation to do so. When you look at a president that self-funded his entire campaign, when you look at the amount of deals around the world that we have turned down, and we turn down every single day, because either we think it's the right thing to do or we decided to get out of business. I mean, I can tell you the one family who has not enriched themselves vis-a-vis politics is our family. Let alone you see, politicians who are living in Chappaqua. You're seeing politicians who have the nicest houses in Martha's Vineyard, who didn't have a couple cents to rub together, before they got into office, and they say we're the ones that enriched ourselves. No, I think we went the opposite way. While all those guys made an absolute fortune, but. Andrew, listen, they're going to attack us. They've used that attack on us every single day. I think probably the entire world knows the truth. There's no one that's given up more for our nation than Donald Trump, and I'm very proud of him for that.
All right, TrumpMobile.com. Where else should people go, Eric?
TrumpMobile.com. TrumpMobile.com. We're very excited about this venture.
Well, congrats on 10 years since the escalator and the new launch, and happy to give you some attention for it, and thanks for all you do. And say hi to my good friend Laura when you get a chance.
I absolutely will. Take care, my friend.